Well, I'm sure that some of you can hear me. Thank God that storm dissipated. That was amazing. That was amazing. Quite amazing. Just fell apart. That storm fell apart, still dropping moisture, but for the most part, it's dissipated. It is. There is a strong high pressure system moving in. That is a blessing. It's a blessing. It will overwhelm the rest of those storms and alleviate quite a bit. What a blessing that is. That's a blessing, a super blessing. Well, folks, I'm just checking in with you guys to make sure that you guys don't have any concerns, questions, things of that nature. I'm going to be doing this often too. Wait a minute. Waiting for the other side to actually turn on. There it did. It did turn on. Good for that system. Yeah, I think it's up now. I think everything is running up and ready to, let's get that format. Get everything going early, folks, so we don't run into issues. Because every single time, when there's something important, we start running into issues. We don't want that to happen. Not at all. Let's get this line out. This over. Okay, I think we have that. Okay, how we do that? Let's take that off. Take that off. Good evening, all of you. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening to all of you. What an awesome thing this is. Guys, I know you have noticed that some of the violence is breaking out all over the place and it's increasing. I think they said it 1,550%. Don't ask me how they come up with these numbers, but they said it increased that much. I was looking this morning at some of the registries, and there are quite a few high schools right now in America working with DHS. Right now they are. There are an unreasonable amount of threats towards high schools happening right now. High schools, middle schools, and they keep saying that in a few days, some of those high schools going to pay. Boy, that just froze up. Hold on now. You guys can hear me on zero, but you can't hear me anywhere else because for some reason the system over here. See, this is exactly why. All right, let's see if we got it. Oh, there we are. Okay. So anyway, now that's better. That's better. Like I was saying, though, many of the high schools, period, right now, people are plotting violent things against high schools. Hope that you guys with kids, that you are vigilant and teach your kids to be that way too. Right? Teach your kids to be that way. Please do that. Please do that. I came on air to check on you guys and make sure, right? Any concerns or questions that you guys have that we can address in the upcoming days and or some subjects you guys would really like to have insights on. I need that documented, right? So just tell me. You guys can type it in there. If you can edify everybody, that'll be an awesome thing to cover some of these subjects. Also, to let you guys know that we all know we are in election year, and I'm telling you the violence is going off the scales. In the early hours of the morning, I could not help but to see America. A very ancient hatred is waking up. A very ancient hatred will be awakened in this country. I hate to say it, but it's an ancient hatred. It's going to be awakened. And some of the ancient methods of cruelty are going to be used again. That's what this election is going to bring out. And in other words, in comparison to where things are going, we have not witnessed division at all. And we know we have seen division, right? But I'm giving you a comparison. In comparison to what's forming, we have not seen division. There is a hatred. It is incredibly sad. I mean, a hatred that people can't hide. They just can't hide. The language of this hatred is awful. It's terrible. Yeah, I mean, it's awful. It's awful. It really is awful. We had some folks go out and to just speak in various communities. I can't even show what came back, right? How people are talking. You're talking about the average person who is willing to sit down and just to speak about what they thought about the election, things around the election, and the USA as a whole. Folks, if you knew the language people are using, it's awful. It's awful. I mean, it's awful. It's really awful. Each one of the individuals that was recorded, by the way, they did give their permission to be published. We could use that in a video or whatever. I said no video, none, zero. The language is too explicit. The hatred is just over the top. But out of all those people interviewed, there are deep-seated hatreds that people have that are being awakened right now. Right? They're being awakened. Let me give you guys an example of something. All of you guys have heard, no doubt you've heard about this eating pets thing, right? No doubt you've heard about that. About folks eating pets. The accusation of folks eating pets. Right? You've heard about that. Do you guys understand what that's causing? And do you understand that eating pets is not even the issue with most of those people? It's just an excuse for something else. I'm going to talk about that issue. It is controversial. That's why I'm going to talk about it. Plus, I have firsthand knowledge and feedback of talking to people in that area. And, we're going to discuss that momentarily. I want you guys to have insights into this, because if you can get insights into how people really feel, maybe, possibly, you can catch yourself from being allowed to be utilized as a vessel of hatred of any of these avenues, right, that people are taking. I'll tell you something about anger I know very well. Anger is often simply an avenue to vent. It doesn't matter what the subject is. It doesn't matter. Anger within itself is full of dislikes and hatred. Right? Anger becomes an excuse. It really does. But in this case, it's going to lead to something no one ever saw coming. When I come back, I'm going to take a small break. I'm going to come back and tell you guys what's happening in certain areas of America. Who's playing a role in it? For example, the KKK is mounting forces right now. Do you guys know that? The Aryan Brotherhood, they're mounting forces right now. Right now, they're doing this. They have a clear goal in mind. And it's not going to be halted. It's not going to be halted. But I want you guys to know about it because, especially in COT, it's a very diverse house. We have Democrats, Republicans, Independents, politically, right? But we all believe in Christ. The problem is, it's going to start pulling people in 1,000 different directions. Certain groups are going to demand your loyalty. They're going to pull out all the stops. I would say in a certain part of Ohio, it will likely break out in just a few days. We're talking that soon, in just a few days. So when I come back from this break, I'm going to finish setting up. I'm going to come back from this break and tell you guys a little bit about some insights here. Hopefully you'll be ready for this. Shielded, ready, right? So that you will not join in with violence. All you guys on Mixler, I'm going to give Mixler a restart if you don't mind. That's going to happen right now. Here we go, everybody else. We just restarted Mixler, so they'll be coming in. I'll be back in a few minutes. Tell everybody I'll be back in just a few minutes right here at COT. Too long. As I said before, I'm addressing a few things. Oh, by the way, if any of you all, right? What is that? Somebody says, oh. Anyway, folks, you guys know we have global problems, right? Global. And I want to share something with you all. You guys heard about the rumor, right? About people eating pets. The Haitians, correct? You heard about that. The Haitians eating pets. Right? You heard about that. Hopefully you guys have heard about that. Hopefully you have. Because it is such that's pretty serious. Not serious, but a nasty thing, right? Something not conducive of being an American citizen, actually. But it's also being used for a very divisive type of ploy that's going to cost, it's going to do some damage. It's going to do some real damage. While everybody's arguing, is it true or not, right? We actually have COT video and audio of the folks who live there in that place, right? In and around that area. And a couple of us were going to go ahead and compile the audio and the video, but it's too nasty. What I mean by that, the language, right? The hate is at a level you wouldn't believe. And it is just terrible. But I can see the same situation is going to spread throughout the USA. Anger, by the way, this anger and hatred has been sitting in a lot of people. I want you guys to really comprehend this. Hatred has very deep roots. Hatred does. Normally, when people engage in a subject, they will utilize that subject to act on the hatred that's already in there. Do you hear me? A loving person who learns of something egregious is not going to instantly turn hateful. A hateful person suppresses their hatred. But then when an issue comes up where they can exercise that hatred, they will do so. And the level is so bad that Ohio and Pennsylvania, they're going to be examples of what will spread throughout all the cities in the USA, all the towns in the USA. It will become very dangerous. Now, I hate to say this, it's going to become dangerous for certain people of ethnic backgrounds. It will. I'm just telling you how I see it. That's going to cause a type of segregation of cities. It will. You will see with your eyes one race running another race out of places. That's what you're going to see. And I hope that you are ready for that. Which means an ancient evil is awakening again. An ancient evil is doing it again. Now, I've heard the rumors that they were eating animals. I saw the voodoo stuff too, but let me tell you something. Can voodoo turn a city upside down? Yes or no? I hate to tell you this, but the devil has already taken up residence in every city that we have. It happens when we fail, when people refuse to exalt the Lord. Do you hear me? That means you already have murder. You already have rape. You already have these ugly things in all these cities. You already have that. It's already. And I'll say it again. Hatred looks for an excuse to exercise itself. It will utilize any subject, any issue to exercise itself. Do you hear me? Hatred sits and it rots the vessel it sits in. It waits for an excuse to hate someone. See, someone who is filled with love and decency, the reason they don't take that avenue, even undergoing some pretty rotten things, even though they don't take that avenue, is because hatred is not, their vessel, their bodies, is not a home to hatred. But you have people out there, they are the embodiment of hatred, and they await for certain subjects and issues to arise so they can act on it. They will begin to group together. You will see hateful groups form out of every race. You'll see it. Right now, there's a large militant body in Ohio. They're ready to act. And I'm going to break the ice to you. You will see the KKK in action. You will see neo-Nazis in action. You will see gangs in action. You're going to see it in action because people would rather opt for racist things than to have peace at all. You will start to see this escalate all over the world. Doesn't matter if you don't want to see it or not. It's in people. It's rising. It is rising. The hate will be at a level never experienced before. The cruelty at a level never experienced before. Somebody says, why Ohio? Normally it begins in impoverished places, in places where people have no representation of anything to defend themselves. If you take note, some of the worst stories about people always happens in a place where no one will speak for a neighborhood. See, when you cannot speak for yourself, and all of you know this because you're Christians and you've been in this predicament, when you cannot speak for yourself, other people speak for you. And they make up and assume things all the time. When you cannot speak for yourself, people will always speak for you. And it's not going to be for you to lift you up. It'll be against you, to tear you down, to cause others to turn against you. All of you know this. And so when you're dealing with impoverished places, they have no defense. Right? They don't. They don't have the luxury, right, of getting together to set something like this up and to speak for the entire crowd. They can't do it. They can't get public representation. There are language barriers. Even in America, the same thing happens to citizens of the USA who speak perfect English. In fact, it's been happening for the last 20 years, and it's been growing. Outside of all these brand new issues people think we have, hatred has been growing. In fact, hatred grows due to a lack of occupancy of Christ Jesus. Well, everybody's going to look at the political issue and the demographic of what's happening. Listen, don't make the mistake. This is a spiritual issue. When Jesus Christ is not worshipped or exalted or recognized in a place, then it becomes a habitation of devils. Everywhere the influence of Christ is not, the habitation of devils is. And so you're going to have a myriad of things come out of those areas. We see that with drugs. We see that with a whole slew, a whole list of things. We have been seeing it. The only difference now is that they're utilizing these things for political gains. Don't fall for the okie doke. If you become a vessel of hatred, you're going to find yourself dangling off a cliff, a spiritual cliff. And the Lord has already said what he would do. He already said those who kill with the sword must be killed with the sword. Those who lead someone into captivity must they themselves go into captivity. There's going to be an instant reaping of what people are sowing. This indicates some type of civil contention that's so high. Many different wars are going to break out. I've heard people talk about civil war in America. You can't even call it that because the basis of this fight is not going to be any one subject, but all the subjects, anything anybody can think of. You have a buildup of militant troops in cities right now. I'm not talking about the U.S. Army. I'm not talking about any sanctioned military group. No, I'm talking about civilian militias built up from different groups of hatred. They're surfacing. And every day they gain more and more strength. They're gaining numbers, and they will act. When the hatred reaches a level where they do not care about human life, they're going to act. And when they do act, it's going to be highly distasteful to some of us, but for the most part, it's going to recruit others. See, when others see these acts, these egregious acts taking place, when they see a group rise up and then kill everybody they don't like in that place, I'm telling you right now, people are going to see that and say, finally, somebody did something. That's how high the hatred is. Some of the people that were being talked to, they couldn't even speak. They were so angry. And when a person is angry, that's when they start speaking the truth of what's in them. And the truth is the audio and the video nobody can use. It's that hateful. An ancient hate is awakening. It's getting worse. I don't know about you, but I do not operate by those dark principles. I don't. My hope is that you all see it, that you don't become a mouthpiece of hatred itself, that you forever strive to be a vessel of usage for Christ Jesus, even during troubled times. Because this time is going to count. How many times do you think Lot and his wife got away with doing something that was iniquitous? They were living in Sodom and Gomorrah. Surely they did something iniquitous, but they got away with it, right? Lot's wife got away with it until it was time, until the Lord's season came upon them, and the Lord said, get out of that city. It's time to move. When the move comes, that's your chance. If you mess up during that chance, you're done for. When the move came, the Lord said, depart out of this city and do not look back. He told them what would happen. She looked back. That was the end of her. Same thing is happening now. People have already begun to board up their homes and start thinking about home defense in a very different way. When you go to a house of someone, right, and they're boarding up their basement windows and everything else, you say, well, what are you doing? The hurricane's not coming here. They say, oh, no, this isn't for the hurricane. You guys may not know about the threats against schools. So let me give you a scenario while everybody's playing politics. There are hateful vessels in this country. And one day you're going to wake up and find that over 100 high schools have had mass shootings. And I'm being probably very reserved in that number. That's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to hear. And when that day comes, what do you think people are going to do? They see the writing on the wall. Sadly, what's orchestrating these things has nothing to do with America, nothing to do with the elections, and everything to do with Israel. Hateful vessels here in this country are conspiring. They're going to coordinate and hit us where it counts. There's even talk, listen, they picked up and intercepted talk about people who are, you may not believe this. Until you see it, you're not going to believe it. Mass shootings at elementary schools, preschools, daycares. And for what reason? To hit America where it hurts most. And if you think it's the talk, this rhetoric is happening among those who don't speak English, you're mistaken. Money is a powerful tool. To a fool, it's a powerful tool. It solves everything for a fool. The real story as to what's happening will make you sick. Nevertheless, it's happening. See, it's obvious to have foreigners come in and do things like that. Not so obvious to have Americans do things like that, is it? Americans who are paid lots of money to do very dark things. Americans being paid to turn a blind eye. Imagine a school teacher. They don't make a lot of money. Imagine they're in a financial crunch. Somebody gets online, they say, hey, you know what? We can give you $2 million if you just turn this system off, or if you just do this or do that. If you were desperate, you did not know the Lord like you do, would you accept $2 million? Just to do something very simple that nobody would ever find out in the first place? Would you? Isn't that what people do every day in this country? They conspire to rob people and defraud people. Isn't that what they do? For money. Isn't that what they do? Yes, they do it every single day. It's just now the stakes are higher. The paycheck is bigger. Why do you think the people are reporting all these kidnapped young girls and young men, but more young girls than anything else? Why? Because they pay $2 million per person. That's why. If they accept some snatched up girl, somebody's going to make a big paycheck from that one little girl. You don't think there are desperate people in America who are Americans? Because in every single case, and I'll say about 80-90% of the cases, Americans are stealing children. Not some foreigner. Americans are stealing children. You ought to look that up sometime. You ought to see the security footage, the various reports that have come out, the people who have been caught. Look at who they are. It's quite clear. And they're full of hatred. They're full of hatred. These things are increasing. The very thing the Lord talked to us about. Sadly, the very thing that people are ignoring a great deal. They're increasing. Stay vigilant. It will get worse. That threat against these schools, that's real. That's not fake. And it's so sad. We're talking about this today, and when it takes place, it's going to be too late. It's always too late when it takes place. It's always too late. And all because hatred is finding new homes everywhere in this place. This is spreading throughout the world. Your Father has a principle. Judgment always starts with his own first. Then it trickles out to everybody else. Why does he do that? He will always have his own house ready first. He'll secure those who can be secured first. In order to secure us, we must face the trial. Right? Because the Lord said he will try us, correct? We're being tried. So then all these diverse activities will come upon us first, which they did. After we are secure, after we are made immune from falling victim to such iniquitous things, then it trickles out to the world. When you're talking about nations, it has to begin here in America first. Then it will trickle out to the world. The violence you're about to see on a very large scale. It'll increase. It'll increase. I hope you guys are ready for that. Robust enough to stay level-headed, to truly be ready for that. All right. Now you know that's coming. Second on the list, you guys know people out there in the various ministries who are good at what they do. Some people good with celestial mechanics, some people with geology, so on and so forth. I'm going to start reaching out to some of those folks to see if they would like to partake in some data. And the reason why is we don't need some institutional person who's chicken. We don't need that. The reason why I opt to select folks who are somewhat brazen, but they believe in Christ, is because when it comes to helping people versus helping themselves, they're going to opt to help the people. They're not chicken. They have no career. Nobody paying them large paychecks to stay silent, right? So if something were to ever come up where they really thought people need to know, they're not going to hesitate to tell them. That's why. Not the chickens. Not the folks who are bound up so tight. Right? We don't need chickens. And the chickens, sad to say, are those who work in these areas of science who have access to every single tool out there. But they always work for somebody else who will control that information, who's paying them a grant to study certain areas. They don't want to make ripples in the water. They don't want to upset anything. We don't need people like that. We're living in times where if Christians had the right data, the raw data, collectively we could come to our own conclusion. And if we need to warn people, well, we can do that. We're not chicken. We can do that. But the other folks are chicken. So we've actually reached that time. From what I shared with you guys yesterday, there's lots of data on these things. And it's really time to begin to get all those folks with that extensive knowledge to pick their brains So I'm like, I'm going to be reaching out for the purposes of coming up with some more accurate calculations to deliberate other data sets, to bring some wisdom to the table so that the people will be duly informed. Not informed of a theory either. I don't like theories. As stuff, theories get people hurt. As a small example of what I'm speaking about, in about a couple of weeks, it'll be unfortunate, but geology will give us a foreshadowing of what will take place in the end times. And when it does, then everybody will understand the importance of utilizing certain insights and gifts the Lord has given us for the sake of the people, not to make money from it. But as a tool for the people. That was my second thing. That was the biggest thing, really. That one, and you guys not joining in with the stuff. Anyway, I can't spend too long. I want you guys to think about that. I'm going to be writing down some of these, some of your suggestions, people, right? And if you know somebody out there like that, yes, I'm going to speak to them directly, right? Those who are good in sciences, right? I'm going to speak to them directly. I'm going to open up some dialogue and get this show on the road with that. If people, this year so far has been a blessing. I know the fire is bursting out all over the place. The storms were outweighed from a high pressure system, but we've been severely blessed. But we can't get naive, because next year, even this fall, even this winter, it's going to try us. This November, when that day rolls around, and I know, there's going to be no satisfaction with the election results. All of you know that. Every single last one of you know that. There are now radicals implanted. Both parties are going to come forward, begin to feed people the extreme ideas and ideologies to get them to move by way of anger and despotism against each other. So there will be no clear or concisive victory for anybody. It's only going to raise more contention. It's going to be problematic at best. Each candidate brings strong repercussions for those in this place that others feel they don't belong. Telling you what I know. And people are ready to fight. Because if they perceive they have lost their country, they will act. If they perceive this was their last chance, they will act. Doesn't matter who wins. The other side will not accept it. All right. Okay, folks. I'm not going to keep you. I'll be back on with Pastor Paul, I think, and if he comes on at the standard time, 10, 15, 17, somewhere around there. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about some more things. Sure we are. Sure we are. I should have our email system. That should be done at least by tomorrow afternoon. Okay? There's filters and little forwarders and all sorts of strategy in there, so I can actually go through all the emails. That's it's very difficult to do, to go through emails. So this will help me to look at all of them. Plus, it will help me to allow other folks to read email for me, right? And then present certain things directly to me. Also, we have two locations. I'm going to put those up on the site, or you guys can use that for mail. Okay, that's for COT for mail. And it will be an address to look out for just in case something is sent to you. Okay? Somebody said Dutch sense and L.A. Marzulli, hey, guys, I'm small fry. I'm the small fry guy, right? Small fry. Those are big wigs. I'm the small fry. Remember that. I'll open the door. I'll certainly open the door. And we're going to pray about all of it anyway. Listen, because here's how I believe it should work. It's just me. Before we make a decision on something like that, it requires prayer from all of us. All of us. That means I'm not going to make a decision like that and bring anybody on board absent your discernment. That would be going backward. This is not a one-man show. That's not what this is. Not what it is. So it requires all of you. It does. We'll accommodate that too. But these decisions, they require all of you. I firmly believe that collectively God has given us so much. Some incredible truth. Right? But I also know this. In order to get together collectively, we have to get over our own pride and ego. We do. In other words, only through humility can we ever get together to harness the giftings the Lord has given the body. That only happens through humility. Somebody said BP teaches even to his own hurt. Yeah, that happens. He's tenacious when it comes to information, and that's a very good trait. That's an extremely good trait. See, I'll tell you guys something. That's what our government needs to learn how to do, in my opinion. Right? Instead of saying it should be Republican only or Democrat only, no. They don't know how to get. See, when you have an idea, when somebody has a request, right? You bring that request into government. The government has people that are experts in keeping government size down. Some are experts in the economy. Some are experts in what people are prone to do. Some are experts in how the financial system works. You bring all of them together and you sit down and you begin to analyze the issue. And you work through that issue, if it takes all night, to come up with an answer that is sufficient for the country, not sufficient for the party. I don't know about you, but I'm so tired of this party stuff. That's where our nation is failing. It doesn't matter what anybody says. I firmly believe what the Lord has given me. If I'm telling you right now, if Kamala Harris wins and she thinks it's all going to be a Democratic show, this country's in trouble. If Donald Trump wins and he thinks it's going to be all a Republican show, this country's in trouble. If they do not come together and utilize the aspects of intellect the Lord gave them to start solving these problems for the country and not party, it's over. It's over. Will not go forward another step. It's over. We're going to lose our position. Another nation will take our place. We're going to be pushed aside. We're going to be like a bad memory. Something that came for a season and left. Because they used to utilize the whole of government. They're stuck. They're stuck. There's too much division. Right? The legislative branch, they're starting to work against the executive branch and judicial branch. Vice versa. Foolishness. You have the departments who will no longer work together. Commerce, defense, education, energy, it doesn't matter what it is. They don't work together. All of them are serving their party, and that's where the mistake is. Stop serving the party and serve the nation. Stop serving half the people and serve all the people. You cannot serve all the people with one half input from the people. You have to know where everybody is. You can't spend a month doing that. If they don't correct it, there will be no more chances. I firmly believe that. I was given that, which is why I saw those people rise up in this nation and begin to take this nation over. With little to no opposition, they were in strategic places. And they locked everybody out, and they just simply took over. Divided, we are a foolish nation. Collectively, we give balance to each other. Right? Same thing happens in COT. I may have a heart for people, but other people have a heart for organization. Other people want to make sure that things go through this, that, and the other. Without the balance of other folks, this house would fall apart. Do you know that? It would fall apart. That's why the word council exists. Respect the calling of another person is number one on my list. Most people don't know, but I don't know how to access COT archives. I've never accessed COT archives. I've never accessed COT archives. Do you know that? Never. Because I did not initialize that. When this whole thing is done, others will come in and run it. People still can't believe I'm going to hand the whole thing over. And they keep asking me, who is it? Who am I going to hand it over to? The Lord will direct me. And when I say hand it over, I mean give the whole thing to somebody. Sign everything over to somebody else that the Lord gives me to sign it over to. My assignment is to build and establish this place for the season coming. During the time of trouble, this house will still be standing erected. It'll still be up. It'll be a refuge for a lot of folks. That's what this is for. For the time we live in right now. You have a heart like that when you've overcome greed through Christ. When you've overcome pride through Christ. When you have overcome through Christ. Then you become only interested in what the Lord has decreed. I'm not interested in ifs. I'm interested in what the Lord said would be. Deliverance is a major part of it. To have people ready is another part. I like the realization of where we're at. People need to see exactly where we're at, spiritually and physically. Spiritually, we're being run over. Too many people are compromised, even right now. They're compromised. By the end of this political season, it's only a month or so, you're going to see people so compromised, you will not be able to speak to them. You won't. Families will begin to break up big time this time. You thought Obama was bad? You thought Obama's second term was bad for families to break up? Because people would rather break up their family because their kids liked Obama. Can you believe that? There's nothing on earth that can separate me from those I love. There is no ideology or anything else that can separate me from those I love. How shallow of individuals we have become to let some stupid ideology and unreal topics separate us. Because I'll tell you something, it's not real if it never comes to pass. Period. It is not real. That's why not one prophecy of the living God will ever fail. Because if it does not come, it was never real in the first place. And that's called a lie. And the damage from this election, it's already great. It's already great. People are frightened. People are withdrawing their children from schools. Schools are being threatened. People do not know whether to send their kids to school or not. There are mass shooting threats, harmful threats out there. Chemical threats are out there. Biological threats are out there. Nuclear threats are out there. It's happening. It's all happening. My hope is that you do not become part of that. That you don't become a vessel of hatred or begin to regurgitate what these worldly people are regurgitating. Because I tell you, they're doing what they do for position, power, for a seat. Many of those who are following Trump, I'm going to go ahead and say it, many of those who are following Trump are bedazzled by Trump because they did not like him when he first stepped foot on the stage. So clearly, they're only loyal to him so they can have a position, because they know if they're not loyal to him, the people are going to turn against them. So in essence, they're saving their own behinds by showing Trump kindness. If Trump were to ever fall, they would run so far away from Trump it wouldn't be funny. You do know that, don't you? Because prior to his election, what did they say? He was an idiot. They hated him. Didn't they? Isn't that what they said? When they found out he had a sway over the people, they came just like puppy dogs, one by one. Did they not? What's going to happen if something happens to Trump? I'll tell you what's going to happen. The whole thing is going to change. Then you'll see the truth of those people pop out again, which will make the base angry and confused. I hope that you do know everything is about to be dismantled anyway. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for that? See, if your loyalty is with Jesus, you've got no problem. You don't. Folks, I won't drag this out. I'm going to see you guys next time. I will see you next time. I'll see you guys next time, but I'll be on Past Policy shortly. I certainly do hope that you guys don't get caught up in what's happening. It's almost immediate what's taking place in the school situation is in fact, right now, there are schools under threat right now as we speak. And I really do pray that you guys are vigilant. I do. It's going to be a very distasteful time. Nobody likes to see kids hurt. They don't. I certainly do not. That's my weakness. It really is my weakness. I have a terrible weakness when it comes to kids, because somebody who can take a child's life, how can they deserve life? Anyway. At any rate, we'll continue to pray. But also, I pray that you're also people of action. Not action like the world. No. That the Lord give you insights and that you're children of action. that you're ready to go the extra mile for the sake of your faith, to take the extra step for the sake of your faith. I really do hope that you agree with the gospel. I really do. In the Bible it says, he that endures unto the end, the same shall be saved. To endure a thing is not to like a thing. Remember that. And all of us have endured throughout our lives. That's what the word says. A Christian will endure this time on earth. See how that matches? He that endures until the end, the same shall be saved. And those who believe in Christ, they have been enduring this world. They don't necessarily love it. See, if you don't love this world, then you endure the world. Isn't that awesome? So you have been enduring the world. Continue. That means to continue to put up with it. Keep pursuing the path of Christ. You're almost there. You're almost there. Folks, I'll speak to you next time, but I'll see you shortly in about 2 hours, actually, right? About 2 hours. I'm going to let the player go silent for a little bit. And then, of course, I'll be back in about 2 hours right here at COT and the Coming Apocalypse. Hopefully on COT. I'll be here. It might fire back up. It might not. It may. Somebody says, what does somebody say? Oh, okay. You guys be blessed. Remember, your opinion matters. It does. I'm ready to document your concerns, your opinions, right? Your interests, everything. Let's make this place useful for everybody at every turn. Let's do it. I'll see you guys next time right here at COT.